Hi guys, welcome back. We're talking about relationships, and Samuel, you were mentioning that you sometimes perceive, or maybe all times, I would know, perceive relationships as chains. Emphasis not on this kind of chain, guys. Like chains, like the one you pray against in Pentecostal churches. What's going on there?
What's going
Let's
on
dig
there?
into it.
Let's dig into
Okay.
it.
I'm guessing this is feeling like therapy session.
This safe space.
um, so for me, I think it's how do I explain this? There is a there's a conditioning I've grown up around where it's like when you get into a commitment like this, you are getting in to stay in, and and then the staying in is like regardless of what happens, you stay in. And I'm sure you guys have seen examples of people that were maybe dating, they were married or they were in relationships, and then their partner wasn't treating them right, but they
They
stayed
stayed
in,
in.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like obviously it wasn't until when I got into like OAU and then I started seeing that wait a second, there's more to life than this relationship. Because growing up, relationship was always that junction, that place everyone was going to.
Mm-hmm.
And so like now it's really hard for me to say, okay, I want to commit to somebody, but I'm committing to them not because I want to make them my wife, but because I want to be a companion with them. You know, like it's like, how do I say I want to be with someone and I'm not thinking about this long lasting forever till death do us part relationship from day one. So in my head, I'm like, I'm not ready for that kind of commitment. I do not
Yeah.
want to be with someone yet to the point where I'm like, I'm stuck with them for life. Not stuck, but I'm stuck with them for life. It's not necessarily about commitment. Maybe it's commitment issues. I don't know, but I don't think I'm at the point
I don't
where
think it's let me tell you what it is. Like given my experience as a like a self
Therapist.
acclaimed, you didn't get it. I think what the problem is in the first thing that you already said, which is that
Yeah.
you view a relationship as a bondage. That's why you're using terms like stock. Like
Yeah.
you'll be biggest because I'm not sure if we're talking about you getting maybe getting a all expense paid trip to London or something. You're not
Mm-hmm.
thinking that we'll get stuck in London. But
Yeah.
if you're going to maybe Lagos, you're worried that
Yeah.
you might get, and that's
You won't be able
because
to come back again.
exactly that's because you view Lagos as a place where you don't want to be for long. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to be there. I think the problem is that already before you even if there's no, for example, for you now, at least as far as we know, there's no one in the picture. You're not ready, but you're already visualizing that wherever it might be, it would be something that it would be a Lagos. It won't be
Yeah.
a
It would be
London.
like it would be something
Something
that
that you
would
have to
go wrong
endure.
that would still be stuck to, like something you have to endure,
Which
right?
now brings us to the point that is it that you've not had like you don't have like
You've always had
adequate
endurance relationship.
marriage models. Could be that you actually,
you know
actually what do you mean endurance relationships?
this episode should be called therapy session for Samuel. Like
I mean, we don't know how this is gonna go. We'll dig into everybody's life
It
now.
could be two things. It's either you, it's either you've always had endurance relation, the Israelis say endurance relation, or there are no mental models of adequate marriages around you. So when you think about
Mm-hmm.
marriage, it's the same way for some people when they're in Nigeria, when they think about people moving abroad, they are like, oh, I don't want to be doing some menial jobs. I don't want to be. That's the image they have in their mind because
Mm-hmm.
every mental model around them, every model, not even just mental, every somebody on Twitter is about, oh, don't come here, something, something, or the code. So they can't visualize a life where
Things going
it
right.
happens different. So when you think about Jackpot, that's what they think about. Same way for you now, when you think about marriage, you're thinking about something in the negative. So it brings us to the question that do you think it's because over growing up or even presently, you don't particularly see marriages that you desire a lot? Could that be part of the reasons why this is happening? You can dig in as much as you want to. I just
I mean, I don't even think it's so much about marriages.
I
It's
don't
so
think,
much
yeah,
about
man, you're already going far.
relationship, right? Marriages, you're
okay,
already
even
even part of the
relationship
problem
itself.
now, because you're already like thinking
You're already
marriage. It's more
I'm trying to
about
run away from
long-term
marriage.
relationship, right? A long-term relationship, I guess, is really the thing. Like it's like
I
long-term relationship.
What do you
I
think you
think
would want to do that you wouldn't be able to do in a committed long term, say 1 2 year relationship?
Well,
Yeah.
first of all, I have to make plans around this person. I have to, if I'm going to, if I'm trying to travel, I have to think about the fact that I have a partner and how would they feel. You guys have I'm glad I'm having this conversation with you because you have a context into some of my, like, into growing up. We've been together since like secondary school and stuff. But
Yeah.
um, while I don't mean this as any shade to anybody, let's first of all be clear on that part.
Let's do a preamble.
Let's be
Yeah.
clear on that part.
Yeah.
Now, I have been in a position where I have to think about the fact that okay, I have potentially have a partner. I have a partner, and whatever I want to do, whatever fun I want to have in life, I have to
Mm-hmm.
think about them
Mm-hmm.
or think about bringing them in,
Yeah.
and I have to plan for them.
Mm-hmm.
I like to think that I'm a guy that I really enjoy taking care of my girl. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, there's you, feminism, whatever conversation or whatever. Like, forget feminism, forget women rights or anything. Forget. I really.
Forget women
Let me not forget human rights. Wait.
Ah,
Let me not forget human rights. I take that back. Don't take this out of context. But
It won't even
um,
be in the context. Don't worry.
aside all of this, right? Aside all of these factors, treats like I just really enjoy provide supporting and providing and being that
you have
backbone
like a
for my partner.
provider
Yeah,
which I agree with anyways. Like when
That
we're
is
in
father
Vegas,
figure
I had
vibe.
to, yeah, I had as a father figure
Israel,
vibe, which might
do
also be a
you also
problem.
have that provider figure?
Me,
Yes.
me, I'm
Yes.
more egalitarian when it comes to
he said
relationship.
it's
I think
like
I
No,
have,
that's the way I put it.
I don't think I have such figure.
I'm so no so I think I was gonna like on our trip, like when we went to Vegas, I had to like tell this bro,
yeah.
we know you
I know
have
you
money,
drag.
calm
He was
down,
going to drag me on that. I was going to drag me
right?
on that.
No, but I think
I think a
which
part of the
isn't necessarily
identity
bad,
attached to
right?
money.
I don't think it's necessarily bad, to be honest, right? I just think
Yeah.
sometimes people can take it to an extreme, right? But for me, I like to be in an egalitarian relationship. I'm more egalitarian when it comes to
I'm going
relationships,
to Google the word
right?
egalitarian because I'm not sure.
Equity, and
Equal,
the
it's
like.
just equal. I'm just trying to. It's
Yeah.
just so there are like these two terms that we have for like when even like in Christendom, there's always like, oh, does the Bible preach egalitarian relationship
Or
or role based relationship where somebody is something and all those kind of things, or like equality, those kind of things. So for me, I've always been an egalitarian guy, and Samuel has always been like that. And so I think that's even which is like where the problem comes from, right? Because Samuel isn't gonna be like leave the house job to his wife, right? He's not gonna be like, oh, you're gonna be doing the cooking and then you're gonna be here. It's like Samuel isn't gonna do that, right? Which means it's in some sense he's not looking for a role-based traditional relation where it's like the provider and the wife is the stay. I don't think that's what Samuel is looking for
that's
based on.
not what.
Do you
But
get?
he still wants to be the one. So let me give you an example.
But he still
What
wants to be
Samuel
the.
is
So do
saying,
you get?
he still wants to be the one to provide, which in a way it can be an okay thing. I think the thing about me is that I've not thought so much about marriage to the point where I don't even know if I want to be the one, because I don't even see myself in a marriage. So I don't even know. These are the problems.
These are the issues.
Like I
These
don't
are
even know
the
if I want,
issues.
if I'm supposed to be the one to provide in this imaginary marriage. But I mean, the models of marriage that I've seen that I think maybe I admire a little bit, maybe just two or three. I would say, I mean, there's one where the man actually makes all the money, but it's a lot of
Mhm.
money. It's the kind of money
Yeah.
that if you're making, to be honest, your partner should just relax.
She don't want
There's some kind of money
exactly.
that you make that you actually just, to be honest, there's no
Yeah.
point. Even if you could stop working, you would, to
Mhm.
be honest, because there's
Yeah.
just no point. But the other
Mhm.
ones I've seen, it's like both people in the relationships actually have uh, money. But Samuel, I think what I would want to ask you now, maybe to trigger if there will be a response, is that how safe and how comfortable would you be if you're in a relationship where your partner was earning way higher than you were?
Mhm.
And you know that you can't, not that you can't meet up, but it's not something that you can meet up in like maybe 1 year.
That is a really good question. Because I've never been in a position where my partner earns more. And there's a theoretical answer to that, like, oh, like let her fly, whatever. But I've actually never been there to know. I'm going to be honest and say I've never been there to the point. Like, I'm not going to do anything to sabotage my wife's
Of
or
course not.
my partner's progress, right? I would 100% support. But I also haven't been in a position where they've earned more because most of the time I kind of have it. And in cases where they earn more, in some cases where they earn enough to take care of themselves. I just don't care. Like I just don't care. But the thing is, I still want to be able to say, and when I say I want to be able to provide, I'm not even thinking in terms of taking care of the household or taking care of our basic
Mm-hmm.
needs. I do not want to take care of our basic needs.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. I
Someone is
actually would not
thinking
be with
you should be
someone.
able to buy that. If someone is thinking if she buys a G-Wagon of 2023, he should be able to buy 2024 for her.
Is that what
See,
you're
Which is
thinking?
that kind
weird.
of thing, like the
That's
experience of
Which is,
that's
saying,
very
I
I want
think,
to
offensive.
travel, I
I
want
think that's
to
a problem,
do this,
anyways.
your birthday gift,
It's
I
a big
want to do
problem.
that. Like I want to, like if it comes to the point, she's like, oh babe, I'm on my period. Can you help me buy my my pad? And she's asking every time she's on a period. Like that would be a weird one for me. Like, okay, you should be able to buy this yourself. Like
How would
that's
that be a weird one
I
for
mean,
you?
now we are
no
fighting
no
for
no no
women
no
for
no no.
tampons and pads to be free, anyways, just so that I can tell
Obviously,
you.
but what I'm
But if
saying
you
is,
get it delivered to the
don't
house, what
Yeah.
do you want?
I don't want a case where I am taking care of all the needs, like every small minor thing. Like I don't mind buying the tampon.
You don't want a housewife.
I don't want a housewife. I don't want a woman that is not independent in her own self and her own money and her own financial state, that I have to always be the backup plan. Because God forbid I leave the picture, then the kids are messed up. Like the kids have no support
So
because
whether
mommy
there's
did not do.
financial money or not, once you leave the picture, the kids are already messed up.
Again, it doesn't matter. No, but Samuel, I think what you are saying is probably more noble than so here is what I understand, right? Is that you want to be able to take care of your wife, which I also want to be able to do. Like, not even
I think
take care.
everybody wants that now.
It's more like, oh, you go out and you want to be able to ball for your wife. I'm like, hey
Yes.
babe,
Yes.
I mean, I have a video that I was going to release on Instagram, but it's like, hey babe, I was at the G Wagon, like the Mercedes
Of you.
store, and then I thought of you, and I was like, oh, my babe is gonna like
Yes,
this
daddy.
Benz. Let's me buy that. But
Yeah.
what I am also saying is that my wife should be able to go outside. I'm like, oh babe, I was at the Rolls Royce this thing,
It
and I
doesn't
thought
see a
my
problem if she cannot. That's the difference between both of you.
that's that. So I see a problem with
If
that,
she,
but you don't see a problem. So that's really the
Wait,
problem.
wait, 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 wait,
I
how
want
wait.
a
do you
partner.
reply?
So here's the thing. I want to be able to take care of my wife. I want my wife to also be able to take care of me.
So are you saying I don't
I
deserve
want
No,
I
I
want it
don't
to
by
be
want
a
that
enough?
reciprocal
definition,
relationship.
by that definition of taking care of, that definition of, for example, now, Samuel, you're saying that if you're able to go to the car store, maybe to get a Tesla for her because she mentioned it,
Mm.
that's something that you want to be able to do on a whim. But if your babe
Mhm.
can't do it on a whim, it's not that she can't still buy you maybe some nice wristwatch, but she can't do the Tesla level kind of thing. I'm not sure you would care too much, Samuel.
I'm
Yeah.
trying my best to say this so that it's not going to look like I'll put myself in a vulnerable spot. That
No,
kind
no,
of
say what you
thing.
want to say.
No, like I
We can
don't
cut whatever you're
care.
saying. Just so you know.
I don't care.
Yeah.
But I also care. Like I so this is what I mean. I think that, and this is me taking big responsibility for something that's not necessarily mine.
All right.
But
Mm.
I think that a man's success, a partner, like a man's success in a relationship is based on how well his partner is striving, right? The woman is
Okay.
striving. That's how I think about it. So I'm thinking,
Which
But do you see
why?
which
it
I
vice versa?
think.
Do you see it
Do
vice
you see it
versa?
vice versa? Yeah. Do you see it
Huh?
vice versa? Like, is it
No, I
reciprocal?
don't.
Okay,
I
exactly.
think
That's all. That's all we're trying. That's what I'm trying to let you
Yeah,
know.
that's all. So and I should probably give a call out at this point that what I necessarily mean that when I say my wife should be able to take care of me is that I don't even necessarily mean on the same level, right? So I'm not saying so it can be that my wife can I can buy my wife a car and my wife can buy me a house, right? Or I can buy my wife a house and my wife can buy me a car. I don't necessarily mean that we need to earn the same amount, right?
Mhm.
But I mean we need to have that mindset where both of us can take care of ourselves, right? It's not like, oh, so I mean, I was talking with someone, like I was trying like going on date with someone, and then she was like, oh, am I a traditional man or a 50-50% this? And I'm like, it doesn't necessarily, it's not A or B. It's not, we are not running an
In neither of
experiment
these
here.
two. Yeah.
Do you get? I'm just like, let each person bring what they can contribute to
And
the relationship, right? Like for me, I want to cook. Like I want to cook when I'm married. Like I want to cook for my kids. I want to cook for my wife, right? I want to wake up
Not
and
for
give my
myself.
wife. Do you get? I want to cook for myself. I want to do breakfast in bed for my wife. And so there was this person that was like talking about like this person that was talking about their relationship, like they're married and they're like, oh, the wife or the husband cooks in the morning and then the wife cooks dinner in the evening. Somebody does this. It's like, and say my wife is tired. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna
Yeah,
take this off, baby. Like
yeah.
my job is so free that I'm probably gonna be doing a bulk. Let's say my wife is a doctor or something, right?
You will be doing the
I'm
bulk of the cooking.
and I
Yeah,
wouldn't mind, to be honest, because
yeah.
you know the way I grew up. Like I grew up doing house chores and I do house chores, and sometimes I enjoy doing them, right? But I also want my wife to say, "Oh, babe, I was just driving from work today and I saw this thing
I
and I
think
thought
we
of
might
you
be-
and I bought this thing for you." And I also just want to say, "Oh, I was out with Michael today. I was in Rome out with Michael, and I'm like, oh, my babe is actually gonna like this thing." So I don't want someone that is just stay at home. I'm like, I want just want to be taken care of.
Let's dig
It's going
into
to
that
lead
for
to
a second.
resentment.
Let's
Yeah.
dig into that for a second. So,
Yeah.
in your imagination, you imagined being
So
in
imagine
Rome
it.
with Michael, but I was not in that imagination.
That's because I'm in
uh,
Europe.
he's in Europe now. I was just
So, no,
making.
no, are you in Europe? Don't even bring that one. Are you in Europe right now?
I
Because
was,
The same way
you
that
but yeah,
imagine,
if you
hey,
mention New
hey,
York, you wouldn't
hey,
mention me now. If you mention New
you're
York, you
right.
wouldn't.
You're very right.
I said I was in Europe.
You you mentioned
I said let's say I was in Europe, and I've been saying it all the while that I want to go spend
that's
two
the
years in
problem.
Europe.
That's the problem. You imagine yourself in Europe and you imagine Michael and you imagine being married
But
and
I'm
I was
already
not in.
there. He doesn't need to imagine me.
It's already there now. So
Yeah.
that reduces the mental strength for my imagination since it's
This,
already there.
So
But
now, I'm
let's say I go
stressful
to the
variable.
States. Let's say I'm in New York, right? And then me and Samuel
Don't even patronize me. Don't do it.
I mean, as Samuel
Don't do it.
in a hotel, and I'm like, "Oh, babe, I was with Samuel. We're just hanging out at
yeah.
this resort. Like the time we went to, I was like, I thought of you, and then I got this gift for you,
Yeah.
right?
I think
So yeah,
I get both your perspectives. I get that Israel's perspective is a lot more egalitarian. So I think the major thing is that apart from the fact that you seem to have this thing where you don't want to be in a relationship where you would have to be actually committed because you feel like because the very idea of a commitment to something is that there are restraints to it. So for example, now
hmm
I could very well be sleeping right now, but we're committed to recording this podcast Saturdays
hmm
and Sundays by 3 p.m. my time. Do you get it? So that's something, but I don't see it as these guys are frustrating me or
yeah,
stressing me because it delights me. But if it is work, or maybe it is maybe one toxic Nigerian company that I'm working for, and they are making me record a podcast on a Sunday or on a Saturday, I
yeah.
would probably complain. It's the same thing. It is the same podcast. It is the same setup. It's the same thing. It's just that,
But it's just the conditions that
and
you're
then
doing.
the way
So yeah,
I'm coming up to it with my mind is different. I think for you, Samuel, you're not seeing relationships as that thing that could be. I don't know how you're seeing it, but it looks like you see it more of that bondage that
something
restricts you.
that you can't enjoy or that
I
you won't
think no,
enjoy.
no, 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 no. Wait. It's not that bad. I think that I do enjoy being in a relationship. Like when I was in a relationship, I enjoyed it. The fact that you had your person and you had someone that you could be vulnerable with, and stuff like that. You had that space that was yours technically. But I also think that relationships come with its own restrictions. And
For
one of
sure.
those restrictions is the fact that, like, for example, if I wanted to travel and I wanted to have fun, and maybe this is coming speaking from past experience. Now, my um my previous relationships, I've had people that had gone the length for me. Like, for example, the first time I ever flew in an airplane, was so I've had people sponsor and try to help me get experiences. I feel like I got more exposed being in those relationships, being like I really valued that part of the relationship and stuff.
Mhm.
But I also know that if I was in a position where I had to, like, I can't think about doing things for myself without having to factor them in, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah. I think that's a valid thing, anyways.
and that's what annoys me.
Israel and I
That's what I
sometimes we talk about this too. It's also like there's something about being all along, like growing up for the past 20 something years, as an maybe even an iPad dependent, or even if you're not iPad independent, someone who the only people you have to think about. For example, for the past maybe 5 years plus of my life now, the only person I'm thinking about when I make most decisions is myself. The moment maybe you
Mm-hmm.
leave high school or secondary
Yeah.
school, you don't have to think a lot about maybe your family or your parents or what would my mom say, or is my dad available, that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. You don't have to consider all those anymore. But making that shift between being so hyper independent for about 5, sometimes probably let's even say 10 years, to the point
Mm-hmm.
where you now have to actually
Let
consider,
someone else.
it could
Yeah.
be a there's a mind shift to that. It's yeah, I see how that could be
Yeah, yeah. So I
potentially
think it's also
disturbing.
like there's the flip side of where people can't not be in a relationship. I know people that if they're not in a relationship, like they're like their
Uh-huh.
life has ended, right?
Yeah.
But there's also the problem that I have, which I know I have, which is what Michael just said, is that, bro, I've been
Whatever.
independent for
Yeah.
as long as I can remember, to be honest, right? And for most things, like most of the decisions that I've made is like me myself, right? And it's just always been tough to when you enter a relation with someone. Like I was still talking with this my friend, which was what brought the all these things. Like if I want to when I was going to Japan now, right? And I was just like, oh, I'm going to Japan,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
good, nothing
Yeah.
spoiled, right? But
Mhm.
I was also going to dig a little bit into that when Samuel said that the fact that, oh, you're traveling, I understand. Which also just makes finding a partner hard, right? As much as you want to find someone that there's this thing that they say, if you're trying to find a partner, you guys should have things in common, but you should also be able to do things independently. I
Yeah.
think it's finding that balance where
Yeah.
if you can tell your babe that, oh babe, I'm going somewhere today, and your babe doesn't feel like, oh, it doesn't want me to come, right?
Yeah.
Does it not love me anymore,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, I'm going to go watch a football match,
Mhm.
and I just want to be. I think that's what
Just not
makes.
like if the babe asks you that, oh, you say Israel, you say, babe, I'm going to watch a football match, and she's like, oh, do you want me to come? What are you going to say? If you can't obviously say
You can't say
you
no.
can't you can't say
See,
no.
I would say no now. Like
That's
now, I
why
would
you
say
are not in
no.
a relationship. You can't say no apparently, according to the dictionary of relationship.
According to dictionary of
Because
relationship, you
if you
can't
say
say
no, the
no.
question that follows straight up is that,
Is why.
so you don't want me to
Don't you
come. Why don't you want me? Why don't you want people to know
I
you're in a
don't say
relationship?
don't want me to come.
see
Why are you
now?
not proud of me in the public?
This is exactly why
So
I
and
say
I
I'm
think
not.
that's the problem, right? It's not so much about the fact that I'm not uh proud of you in the pub, because I also want us to go to some places together, right? But it's
Why don't
just
you want
that
me to go to this football
It's
this
my
thing?
thing. Stay at home. Like go
exactly
do your
right.
thing.
It's the same way I want you to have your thing. So
Yeah.
I think I want
I want to
like
be a part of your thing. Is that not the entire idea of a
No.
relationship?
yeah,
No.
but not every of my thing, like not every of my goddamn thing,
I
right?
actually have a rule. I have a rule now that if I were
That's
to
why
be
you
in
are
a
not in a
relationship,
relationship, by the
I thought that's not what
way.
it is. I'm
if I
trying
were
to
to be in a
explain the
relationship,
problem. Go ahead.
if I were
I
to
know
be in a
that's one of the
relationship
reasons why
now,
I'm not in a relationship, anyways. I am self-aware about my issues.
if I were to, but if I were to be in a relationship now, I've promised myself that there are some activities that I would not bring my partner on. Why? Because the
Yeah,
moment we end, that activity is messed up for me. Like because it
not for
reminds me
me.
so much of them physically. That's
Oh, so that's
Me,
the
I
yeah,
problem.
don't care
Another problem is that someone you're also thinking already of the end. Like
of
this,
the end before
because the
even the
end is
beginning.
it's not
Before even the
the,
beginning, when you're not God,
the
you're
end is
already
there.
thinking.
The end is gonna happen.
no,
It's gonna
Samuel,
happen.
what I'm trying to
Ah,
tell you is that
what do you mean the end is going to happen?
It's gonna
Like,
happen. Someone will die.
Sam,
Someone will
you're not
go. But
thinking about death, you liar.
then you're not thinking about death. You're thinking, oh my Jesus,
Samuel,
see,
what?
I think that I grew up. So one of my biggest exposures into relationship, or one of the first exposures, was the permanence of it. I felt like there was a permanence to relationship, and
Yeah.
seeing that reality being snatched from me, I'm like, maybe there's no permanence. Like you say things like, oh, we've been together for maybe like 3-4 years, right? We've been together for 5 years or 7 years, and then people, and this is also one thing I noticed: as the longer people stay in relationships, the harder it is for them to leave, right?
that's it
Even
generally with
Yeah.
everything in life.
even when the conditions are
There's a
no longer the
psychological
same,
term for that. Yeah.
right?
I think Samuel, there's a problem with the fact that, and I don't dispute these things, but I feel like you are laser focused on the potential
Making
downside.
things work,
Or
right?
do you get it? I feel like, because look at it, for example, you can't in one breath say you want to have kids and have a wife, and in the same breath thinking with an end in sight, because that means you're saying now that in your dictionary, and I'm not even saying for legal reasons or for abuse or whatever, but you're saying that in your dictionary, divorce is very much on the table. And
Yeah.
No, no,
okay,
no,
so
no.
how are you running all this old end thing that you're saying? Is
So
all
look
just
at it.
just hypothetically.
So look at it. I'm thinking about it first from saying getting into a relationship with someone, like
Okay.
getting partnered,
Okay.
should in my head, I'm thinking it has to lead to marriage, right? But I don't want to get married, so I
But you know it
don't
does
want
not
a
have to,
partner.
right? Can we clear
But
that?
I know it does not have to be
But in your
theoretically, but
brain, it
in here,
doesn't.
no.
Yeah, I agree.
Now that's the one part. Now
No, no,
the
it's
second
happening
part
to
is
me that
that
way too. So I get it.
the second part is then there's the marriage part, which I believe is more permanent. Like if I cross the order of saying I want to be partnered and I
Yeah.
cross the order of getting married, I'm staying. Right? That's how I
Mm-hmm.
think about it. I'm staying. But I don't want to get to the marriage part, so I'm staying away from the partnered part.
So yeah, so you don't want to. Is it that you don't get a married partner now, or like ever?
Or you don't want to get married ever.
I don't want to get married
Let's dig
now.
into that.
And so the thing
Ever.
about it
I
is that
can't say. I really can't say what the future of that
yeah,
looks
it's
like. But
totally
I can speak.
okay. I think it's. I mean, I'm pro this, so I think it's okay if you don't want to get married now
Mm-hmm.
or even later. To be honest, but
My parents will come for you in your dreams. Just
thank God your
I
parents are
mean,
not the
it's.
target audience
I mean, this is
of
where I
this
say
podcast.
we shouldn't give. You shouldn't give two
uh,
f about that.
Because the thing is that Samuel, there's something about the fact that you've grown up, and I think probably everyone has, with the
Mm-hmm.
idea that when you date someone, it's potentially
uh-huh,
towards marriage. And there's also
uh-huh.
something about the fact that, I mean, growing up as Christians and still like being Christians, there's that dilemma where you have to balance the fact that the way the Christian theology approaches it, it's more in line with that. I don't know
Yeah.
if I'm right, Israel, but it's more in line with you date someone and then you guys, you don't cut. I think that's the language they
Yeah,
use.
you cut that. Yeah.
And then you guys marry, and that's that.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you're dating someone, but I think lately for me, I've explored relationships in the past 2, 3 years, maybe
Yeah.
2 years, where I've actually not been laser focused on marriage. And I've been able to make it clear from the get go that, oh, by the way, I'm not, and I've seen people that are actually surprising. They're like, oh, sure, they're not digging deep into marriage just yet. So I think what happens is that it creates more room for us. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Because it
Huh.
means that if one person eventually now wants to marry and the other person is still in their I don't want to marry phase, you guys
Yeah.
have to break up. And that person has to
Yeah.
go and find someone that they want to marry.
Yeah.
That's
Mm-hmm.
one.
Yeah.
The second thing is also the fact that it's now like there are some things that you want to do, but you're like, should I do, should I not do? Because you're like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like I'm going to marry this person. So I think in
Yeah.
a way, the system is the system of dating to marry, I feel like it works like for human beings, evolutionary
Mm-hmm.
wise. But I think
Uh-huh.
this new system, which most people are adopting, which is that they want to date for the sake of dating, it's
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it could work. We just don't know. We've not studied it enough. The way we've studied
We don't
dating
have the
towards
history. We don't have
marriage.
the history for it. The
Yeah, we don't
history
have
has
the
I've
favored
to
I've
it.
dating
been
to marriage.
indoctrinated into it. And
But
going
I'm
off what
already
you said,
I'm out
yeah.
indoctrinated from the whole dating to marriage
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. So, even for me, even for me, it's like the way I think about it, and I've always thought about it, right? Is that I'm dating you, or like I'm a partner with you, in the hopes that I'm going to marry you. But but for me, I'm not leaving the chance that we might not work out, right? So for
Yes.
me, it's not like I'm locked in forever.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm
Uh,
trying to say?
so is this
In some sense, I'm dating that, oh, in hopes that we are going to get married,
yeah, like you
right?
wouldn't date someone you can't marry.
Something like exactly, right?
I
Yeah, I think
don't
that,
think that is fairly accurate for Samuel and I don't know. I can't speak for
yeah,
Samuel, but so
yeah.
the reason why I'm saying that is because there's something about the fact that I've not yet explored what married me would look like yet, to the point where I
Mm.
even know. Right now, I can tell you the kind of person I want to date. I can't tell you, oh, that maybe this is the kind of person I want to marry because I don't even know. I don't know. I think you've probably thought about marriage a lot more than I have. I have not thought about it to the point where I can say that when I see marriage, this is the kind of person I see beside me in the marriage. They get it. So, somewhere for me, it's more like I don't know if it's the same thing for you, right? But for me, it's more like okay, I can visualize who I want to date. I can visualize who I want to
Huh?
go out with. I can visualize all of these things. Not so much. I can't visualize it as much when it comes to marriage. They get it.
You
So
yeah, like I can. Well, but I see what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah. So the question is like, Is it the same person? Maybe. If it's the same person, it makes it a lot easier because that just means do you get it? Also, like, is it the same
Yeah.
person? Is it really the same person?
For me,
Like, is it
there's a
really the same
picture.
person? So what I was saying is that sometimes there might be like a difference between the person that you want to. I don't know, like are the requirements the same for you?
It's
Like,
more
oh,
like it's. I guess what you're saying is that at different stages of your life, what you're looking for in someone that you're dating is different, right? Say, for
Mhm.
example, you are like 18, right? Which brings me back to what I'm saying is that if, like, so if you're dating someone and you guys are like, oh, we're dating short term, or like we're not dating for like to marry in that sense, right? Then the bar becomes lower, right?
Mhm.
Which I've probably done that. It's like, oh, I'm dating this person for short term, like it's just like something short term. Like you need company, you just moved to the UK and you're just looking for companionship, someone to smile with every night, like, hello baby, I miss you, right? It's just
that's
you're just
definitely
looking
not
for
me, by the way, just for the
He's not,
context.
he's not, he's not trying to even fake the romantic part as well.
Do you get it? It's not working.
Do you get it? Like, so I think like obviously that buy is gonna be lower. Like what you're looking for is gonna be lower for that, right? Compared to say you're looking for someone that you want to build a family with, right? Or you're hoping that you're going to have kids, some which means like it even affects how you start talking about that. Say you are like dating someone and it's gonna be like for short term. You're not asking that, oh, how many kids do you want? Because it just doesn't matter,
Family conversation, yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
someone that you have asking how many kids do you want, it's probably going to be a different bar from someone that you're asking how many kids do you want. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So
Yeah, I
obviously,
totally
like,
get what you're saying.
yeah, so which is like, yeah, if you're going to date someone, then it's going to be like, if you're saying, oh, I want to now, if you're saying now I'm ready to enter a relationship with the hopes that I'm going to get married, right? Then the person you want to date has to be someone that you can marry. But you're saying, oh,
He's
I
also
just want,
thinking on the same line.
yeah, but I just want cruise and inshallah, right? Then it means that you're also number one, we have to look for someone that is also looking for cruise and
Yeah.
inshallah,
Yeah.
right? And the buy is obviously probably going to be very different. Do you get like
Yeah.
it's the same way with jobs, right? I mean, I wrote an article on my blog in case you don't know that I have a blog, but yeah,
Where do you share
I
these articles?
We
I
don't
mean,
see
I
it.
shared it at some point, but it was a long time ago, anyways.
Oh,
But
okay.
All
you
right.
can check favoriteTechBo.com. But yeah,
All right.
I was comparing relationship to job, but it's the same thing with job. The bar that people have for contractors, like companies have for contractors, is lower than what they have for full-time employees. Because for a contractor, you can just fire them anyhow, right?
Yeah.
But for a full-time employee, there are legal ramifications for whatever. Immediately you accept them, you have to give them some notice and all those kind of. So
Yeah.
it's the same way that I think about that.
Hmm. Yeah, but I think there's some. I mean, I actually agree with you. I don't want to over dig into it. But to circle back, that sounds so good. I'm such a capitalist. Circle back. Ah, God.
Let's circle back on that when we
Yeah, circle back on
when
that
we
before we wrap up. So, Israel, are you looking? You mentioned earlier that you're looking to like date, like take your life serious in 2025, right?
Yeah.
Is
Open
it like
application.
yeah.
are you doing this like with the prospect of marriage, or are you doing like university students? This is
You
a
say
safe space.
university, that's
See, wait,
what.
I was university student and had people that are university students that were dating to marry. So it's
How
Yeah.
not
many,
a
how many
university.
of them?
I mean,
Do the
it
math.
depends, like it depends on like if people
Your
that come to
like
do masters, right? Like that like
no, no, no,
older people that like, or what
no,
do
no.
you
I'm
No,
mean?
saying like I'm
do
talking
you
like
want
normal like example. For example, now if you see two hundred level students now, do you know that they're just wasting each other's time now? Obviously, like
Just wasting
you get it's
200.
just you guys just need somebody to read together with at night. There's no
Yeah,
what are the odds that you get married? Do you get it? It's so
yeah.
slim. Do you get it?
But I
So
mean,
yeah,
if
that's what
we're
I'm
still
saying.
back, if we're still back in OAU for sure, like people start dating in 200 level to get married.
Yeah, but how many of them eventually end up getting married? A small number. That's what I'm trying
Yeah,
to
yeah.
tell you. Like it happens, but it's small number. So yeah, are you doing the 100 level vibe, or you're actually it's towards a relationship, a marriage?
I'm doing for long term, but not necessarily marriage,
So you want
right?
to
but
waste
if marriage comes, you
somebody's
don't
time for
mind it,
3 years?
But if marriage comes, I don't mind, right?
Yeah, I'll
I
But
don't
argue
I'm
think
that.
I'm hoping it's someone that I can do for long term.
I don't think this is the approach that will make marriage come.
So what approach will make
For
marriage come?
something that could potentially be the most longest thing you ever did in your life. You look at the way you're entering it. Like
I
in
mean, I've
marriage,
done
It
longest
has to
thing.
beat 6 years for it to beat.
it's like
For you to, it has to be like 7 years because OAU was like 6 years.
Yeah.
So, for like
marriage is
so.
supposed to be forever now. Is that on the
No,
idea?
no, no,
When
no,
there's
no,
a
no.
year
I'm
before,
saying that. I'm saying that the relationship. You're saying like it's going to be like the longest.
why are
I'm
we
going
looking
to.
at this though?
I'm saying
I'm
that.
talking about the marriage itself, like for something that could potentially be like the
Yeah.
longest
Okay.
thing in your life.
I
You
mean,
can't be
living
you're
is the
entering it,
longest thing that I've done.
but
Existing
one
is.
of the longest things. You're
Yeah.
entering it with such lack of vim. Like you're just in, like it's
I
like
mean,
someone that's applying for a job and it's like, yeah,
I think the problem is more so about the fact that I think you and I have spoken about this before. I am not, I've told you that sometimes I just get bored very easily in
yeah.
relationships, right?
I think you should
And
start going for therapy.
maybe, and I think that's really the problem because the problem is that I don't trust that I won't get bored before 1 year, right? Is what I'm saying. Even though,
That's,
even though
that's
I
the
want
problem.
it, even though I want
Yeah,
it, but I'm like, I'm hoping that but the way that I think about it is that maybe I've just not found that person
I don't think that's
that,
it, Israel. I
yeah,
think the question I would pose to you is that what active steps have you taken? Because we are proactive people, right? If you don't have a job,
Mm,
you apply for a job and you get a job.
yeah,
If
yeah,
you don't know how to edit videos, you watch videos.
yeah,
What proactive steps have you taken to combat this issue that you've seen? Because I feel like we highlight this old childhood uh,
yeah,
trauma issue that we notice within ourselves, even myself inclusive,
yeah,
but
yeah,
we don't take active steps to fix. Like, what active step have you taken to say, okay, I noticed that in relationships or
yeah,
in romantic commitments or anything that's doing close proximity and like
yeah,
I get bored of it
yeah,
easily. What can I do? Why is that happening? What
yeah,
is there a solution to it so that when you're even entering a relationship next time, you can be upfront about it with the person you're that, oh, by
yeah.
the way, actually there's this thing I'm dealing with. I'm
Yeah,
currently
so
seeing a
I
therapist.
I think
Yeah, so
yeah, that's even one thing that so there's this book that I was reading where like I actually wrote it down like if I send that relationship like more like I'm self-aware, so I know my problems, right? So I am going to like tell the partner that, oh, these are the things. I can sometimes be too logical. I can
yeah,
sometimes be too this, right? So in
yeah,
case I'm doing this, let me
yeah.
know, right?
Mhm.
Because I'm actively trying not to do that, right? It's the same thing that like so I think there's this thing about like something avoidant. I don't know if you've seen that. Like there are
Avoidant,
different,
yeah, style.
yeah, all like all
Yeah,
those
fearful
style of relation,
avoidance.
yeah,
Yeah, I
fearful
think you're
avoidant, that kind of
definitely avoidance. Maybe not fearful, but you're
yeah,
definitely
not fearful
avoidance.
avoidance, but there's a kind of avoidance, and I've been reading
Yeah,
more into like how to combat that, right?
yeah.
So that's one step that I would say I'm actively doing, like just actively like
Okay,
reading into
attachment styles. That's what you're
yeah,
talking
I
about.
think that's what
Just
it's called, like
remember.
attachment style, right? And
There's the let me check. There's the
yeah, I'm also
what
like
I
trying to check.
there's the secure attachment type, anxious attachment type, avoidant, dismissive, and disorganized. I don't believe that because that's Gemini. That's AI is this thing. I don't think it's correct. I hate Google's this thing.
Yeah,
It never gives me the answers I want directly. But before we get distracted, it will be good to actually maybe use this podcast to track your progress in these things. I mean,
yeah,
no, and not just for you. I would
yeah,
actually
yeah.
recommend that for you because I know you can afford it. I think you should
I
actually
mean, I think
explore
it's
therapy
my
next year.
company even pays for it.
I think you should. And it's also
Yeah.
like for me, I get that therapy can be scary because you're like, we don't have a problem that we don't even do not even discover that somebody will not go and discover.
Before you start digging into problems that I don't want you to dig
Like,
into.
don't go there. Like, but at
Like
the same
I know
time,
I
it's
have
also
the
like
problem, but I don't want to get it.
you get
Yeah,
it. It's also like, if not now, when? Like, do you want it to come
yeah.
up when you're, I don't know, 35 with a kid, or maybe when
Mm-hmm.
you're 50 with, like at what point do you want to address? And I think and this might sound very dismissive to the relationships that you might enter, but I think
Mm-hmm.
it will be good to try it out, to attempt a healing or a recovery now. And
Mm-hmm.
even the relationship you enter now, which you already say you're probably not marriage focused right now, will
Mm-hmm.
be a good, and this might sound very wrong, but will be a good testing ground. Do you
Yeah.
get it? So it's not like you're using somebody's emotions to play or to do testosterone,
Yeah.
but you let them know that this is happening. I have this issue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing a therapist. I'm reading books. In case it comes up, do you get it?
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm totally healed and everything. I think it will be good. So yeah. So what commitment are you making to making this better? Now that this podcast is ending, I want you to pick
I don't
therapy.
like
But let me
making
hear you.
commitments. But yeah, but really, I would strongly consider that anyways. Like I would
Therapy,
strongly
right?
consider therapy, like
I'm
just
going to ask
seeing
you
what
next
that is
time. Let
about.
me start taking
Yeah.
notes
So
of this our podcast. So yeah, Samuel. So basically, while you were away,
I'm
you can't
not
remember
giving
away
you a
for a while.
timeline for when I will consider it, by the way.
When we're recording the features tomorrow, I'm going to be checking in.
Yeah.
So yeah, Samuel, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
So yeah, I can hear you clearly. So Israel was talking about the fact that he gets bored of
Mm-hmm.
relationships like in like 2 weeks or something. And, what, and I was trying to let him know that we've known this thing for a while. I think Israel has done remarkable work on his emotional life. I mean, over the years, but I think at some point he stopped doing that work. I think he still does it in friendship circles, but I think he stopped
Yeah.
doing it in relationships. And it's also because friendships, we are constantly demanding that you fix up. So it's easy for you to fix up because every day when you do something that is nonsense, we just raise it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But because you're not in a relationship, some of these things may not come up. So
Yeah.
he has said he's going to commit to exploring therapy. So he's going to give us an update during the next episode on
It's
how.
tomorrow. You can't give no.
I said
That's
I'm
too.
going to consider.
Yeah, he's going to give us an update on the consideration. I think so. That's right. You're going to update on the consideration for the
Mm.
next episode. Maybe the one we'll record after tomorrow. But yeah, to you, Samuel, how do you want to combat like your existence relationship problem, which is
First
that
of all,
you are even seeing it as a bondage.
I'm not ready to combat it because I have other things I'm combating. I'm
These are the
fighting
issues.
poverty. I'm fighting poverty. I'm not going to be fighting therapy
I,
issue at the
I
same
think you
time.
can. No, it doesn't have to be. So the thing is, it doesn't have to be therapy. I can't afford therapy. I don't think I can. Maybe I can, but I don't think I want to like push resources to therapy right now. But it
Yeah.
could be that you want to pick a podcast that talks about relationships that you can listen to and listen actively with the thought, with the same way that we want to be financially independent and we watch videos, we share videos with ourselves. It will be good to know what action that you're taking. You're self-aware enough to know that this problem exists, but how are you fixing the problem exactly? Are you reading books? Are you watching videos? Are you joining a support group online? What does that look like for you?
Already listening to podcasts on these topics.
Okay,
I
but
already
this
do.
one change. Are you taking
Yeah,
like
that's the
is it
thing. I don't
active?
think that I'm listening to the point of saying I want to change because I know
Just
that
vibing.
whatever I need to do to
Mm-hmm.
get out of this is going to be hard work, right? Um, I know at some point I have to because again, I want a happy relationship, whether it's leading towards marriage or not, and I know I have to put in the work to get that established. But
Yeah.
I am not going to put myself in like I'm not putting myself in a position where um I'm actively fixing it because it means I'm actively thinking about it, and it's too much mental space for me right now than I can afford.
Mm.
So I'm aware of it. I'm not bringing anyone into it. If anyone comes into this my life right now as it is, I make them aware of whatever it is going on. I'm transparent with them and say, okay, listen, I don't think I want a relationship right now. I don't want a relationship right now. I don't. It's not about you. I've been in this state. It's a lot I'm dealing with. I don't want to talk about it all. Well, I don't want to meet see therapy. And trust me,
And a
I
lot
get.
of don't want to.
Yeah, no, because I know what I want to do and what I don't want to do. When I wanted to get married, I was looking towards marriage stuff. I was putting in the work
That
to
actually
prepare.
sounds so weird. The fact that there was time when you were like,
When you wanted to
I don't
get
know, you know
married.
how weird or just say nice. Like
But
you're
I
close
had
to
that
marriage.
moment and I put in the work
Yeah.
for that. And it was hard work. It
Yeah.
was really difficult work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know that I'm still going to have to do that again for whatever
Mm-hmm.
this is.
All
And
right.
I will get there, but not now. I'm not going to promise you that I'm going to do it now. Because this
Yeah,
time,
I
if
think
it's,
what
yeah, I'm
I
not.
agree with you. I agree with you that it could be overwhelming work. But I think what you can also do is probably what you're already doing, which is you're increasing your self awareness, which is great. So it could
Yeah.
be that you can just keep reading those books or watching those videos and
Mm-hmm.
just to increase your self awareness. So when somebody meets you and you guys even get to the point where you need to raise this, you know what you're raising. So it's not like maybe when they raise it, you're not combative because they're like, you know what, I'm not gonna lie, I know that this shit exists. I think
Mm-hmm.
for me, what I notice is that I don't know how to explain it, right? It's like I've found myself in relationships and I see that I can't be committed. There's something about the
Yeah.
way it just automatically blocks out other things for me. One. But I think the major thing for me is that marriage. I don't know how to explain it. I feel like there's something about how I visualize my life.
Yeah.
Like when I visualize my life, I see you guys in it. I see a lot of things in it. Do you know I don't see
You don't say
It
pa.
will
You don't say like a wife or
children
some
running
children.
around. Like,
Yeah.
let me tell you something funny that happened recently. I saw like a kid that had a loose tooth and was trying to like remove it, and I just realized that I'm so outside of the parenting world, such that I totally forgot that there was time when our teeth was removing. You know, your teeth, all of them
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
remove,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
new ones will come.
Yeah.
I've not thought about this thing since primary school. This old teeth
I say.
removing arena, and I'm not
So
saying
so
that you have
yeah.
to know all those things now, but it's just like I've always there's some things that I know I don't need now. I know I don't need in 10 years, but I learn
Mhm.
about them because I visualize myself needing them in the future. Parenting is not one of those things. Marriage is not one of those things, and it's also like why. I think we've talked about it once where I was telling Israel that I usually visualize that when I'm in marriage, there's something about it that I don't see the benefits. For example, one of the benefits of being married is what Israel was trying to tell me, which is that you now have double income.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Like, for example, you're thinking, oh, you want to go to Dubai, you're trying to save up for it alone, but now you're
That
in the process
doesn't
of saving up
appeal
for
to
it.
me because, anyway, go
You
on.
want
Sorry,
to take care of the trip.
go on.
Okay, can you see? I don't even think about nonsense like that. I mean, I think about times when maybe I know that I want to maybe give you a treat, but
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not thinking every single trip that we want to take, which was Samuel is thinking. But
Yeah.
I never really saw those. It could be growing up in a family that is predominantly patriarchal, such that if father provides a lot to the point where you can't even visualize that the wife could also potentially contribute financially to the running of the family. I think
Mhm.
for me would be to I'm looking at how I can actually maybe unlearn that, or maybe not unlearn, but maybe learn the other side of like what are the advantages when we do the pros and cons. I'm still like I'm chilling myself, and I'm also thinking
Yeah.
what Samuel thinks sometimes about like let's say I'm be 40 now, and I want to travel the world or something. What will happen to the person that I have married and the children?
You have to stay with them. There's no traveling the world. I won't choosing any.
I mean,
Yeah,
obviously there are restrictions that come with, especially with
yeah.
children. Me, I like to say, if with a partner, you just need to find someone that is
I
similar,
remember Samuel wanted
that are
to
similar.
homeschool his kids one time.
I still do.
I'd-
I still do. For the
I
record,
mean,
I still do.
that's interesting. But yeah, I think kids obviously make things harder, right? Because your kids have to go to school.
They have
Yeah,
to
you
even
can't just
think
take.
like themselves.
It's like, do you want to put them in boarding school and just forget about them, and you take, stuff like that, right? Which is like going to create
It's just
another trauma
awful
for
to
the
be honest.
next
Yeah.
generation and all those kind of things. But yeah, I do think that I think it's also that it's okay not to want kids, right? I think that although like your parents are probably gonna, you're the only boy, but like they want heir to all those
I
kind of things.
honestly don't give a damn about them, to be
But
honest.
yeah, I think for me it's okay not, which is also very interesting because like I was just thinking about myself, the fact that I am on a train and then I see a father and his child on a train. I'm like, oh, like I like it's something
Yeah,
that
it's
I
so
want.
remarkable.
Like it's something that I
It's not
actually want.
remarkable to the point of want to. It's just like
Me,
this
I
is
want it
children from
because
No,
I
I
afar.
want
want it
that.
to. I
I
actually
want
want
that
it to. Yeah,
relationship. I want to be able
yeah,
to give that relationship to someone,
yeah,
right? Where I can take my kid to a soccer game. I'm
yeah.
already saying soccer, Jesus, God forbid. I can take them to a football game. Jeez.
The
Canada. Anyways,
North American culture is winning.
no. Anyways, I promised myself I wasn't gonna start seeing soccer, but yeah, where I can take them to like a football game, stuff like that. I want that, and it's more like, do you want it, right? And I guess it's also like, why don't you want it, right?
I think the answer to those questions is that I could potentially want it. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I don't want it. It is that I want some other things more. So it is like if this
And
thing is going to hinder those other things that I want,
Those other
then I'm
things.
going
Mhm,
to deprioritize it. But the
mhm.
problem also is that the things I want more are very transient. So
That's what I
it's
was
like
gonna say. Yeah,
they are transient to the point where I can just not want them to be around. Well, good. But the
yeah.
problem with the other thing is with kids and everything, that you can't choose to not have them. But I'm also
Mm.
thinking about the fact that the things I want are transient, which also means that in 20 years I might have finished having them.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
we don't want to start looking for kids in 20 years. But also the question that this poses is that so there's a book I'm reading and there are some old people in the book, and even where I'm staying right now, there's house care homes for old people and everything. And I can bet that obviously it's probably the kids that put them there, that put their parents there,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't think I want my kids to be living with me when I'm old like that. Because not
Yeah.
only I mean, I want them to live their lives, obviously. And I would like to be in the care of maybe all these nurses that are actually trained to take care of old people. But the question is also that, then this might sound very selfish, but who's going to put you in those places if you don't have kids? You probably don't.
I mean, so I do think that
It's probably going to be you guys kids that would have to take Uncle Michael to the fucking old care home.
you remember Uncle Michael?
Yeah.
Michael, do you remember Uncle Mike in staff school?
I
Uncle
don't. I
Mike.
can't remember Uncle Mike.
Jeez, you don't remember Uncle Mike? Not mathematics, but Uncle Mike. You know, I don't know how to explain.
You guys
it.
are
Is it the admin block?
Yeah, the admin block. Yeah,
I remember him. I remember
Uncle
him.
Mike. Yeah. Anyways,
guys,
so
I have no idea who Uncle Mike is. So
yeah, that's why I didn't say somewhere. But yeah, I do think that in some sense you can actually even set that up for yourself if you have the money, right? You can just set that up for yourself. I don't think your
Then
kids
nobody
have to
comes
put
to
in care.
visit you. Then there's
Then
some things to
you'll
think
be
about.
alone. Obviously, you'll be alone.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean,
plan to have cats,
I think they are like all obviously selfish reasons for having a kid. Like I in some sense, everything is actually selfish.
Maybe not
Me
maybe it's
wanting
actually just practical reasons. Like
it's just practical. Yeah, it can be practical. I mean,
extreme
practicality
mathematical
doesn't mean
reasons.
that it can be selfish. Anyways, like,
Yeah.
but
Not practical
I get
to be old and have kids. That's
and
just
have
the
kids.
idea.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
that's just the thing. But yeah, so which means it's practical for you to actually have kids, which means
And
you probably want to have
I
kids.
lean more into the practical side of life. The thing is just
Yeah.
that I need to be able to also. I think the major problem is not the kids, as you guys probably already figure out. It is that there are these other things that I think might hinder these things. So, for example, if I'm able to do those things, well, good. So I probably am in a good position to be partnered. To be
Yeah,
coupled up.
but so I think I'm also just maybe you are like I don't think I think you've always had like a nice relationship with like
The people that I
relationships,
date.
I guess. Yeah, that kind of thing.
So there are issues that come up, and they're like the same issues all of the times. I just
What are
think
the
it's
issues? The ones
so
that are from your side, anyways.
yeah, no, obviously the one from
that
me.
was a deep breath.
Yeah, it's because I sometimes have this interesting thing where I feel like I don't know if there's someone that can understand the entirety of the life that I'm living.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give you guys an example. So you guys are probably me the closest, but there are some
Yeah.
parts of my life that you're not very involved in or privileged to.
Mm-hmm.
For example, my writing life.
Yeah.
Do you get it? When we're talking about tech, we can relate a whole lot. We're all
Mhm.
working in tech.
Mhm.
There is So, for example, recently I wrote a poem and I sent it to a literary magazine and it got accepted, and I felt insane joy. You guys can't relate to that joy. You don't even know the value of the joy. I mean, I can share it with you, and you get like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're doing that because you care about me, but you can't really get the joy itself because you don't
Yeah.
know what that process is like. And it's fair. Your friends can't know everything.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there are sometimes when maybe when I've been in relationships in the past, I realize that for some particular things, I lean more towards I sift what I share sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's also like the response, it's like I want to share my life with you, but I also want a particular kind of response from
Yeah.
sharing my life with you. So when I don't get that response, it makes me feel like, why am I sharing my life with you? So, for example, 80% of my life I share with you guys, I'm going to get perfect response. Do you get it? Now, imagine I'm now sharing maybe that's 80% is my partner, and I guess maybe a subpar response. Now, I know the reason why I'm getting perfect response from you guys is because I've known you for the longest. Do you get? But it's also a bit ish. For example, Israel, you can share about maybe, I remember we were talking about it sometimes about you sharing your ambitions and everything. And the person that you're with, or maybe you were talking to at the time, just saying things like maybe, "Oh, I love it for you," or something, or "I'm so proud of you." You know, the funny thing is that if they ask you that, what would you want me to say? You don't even know, but it's just like,
You
it's
don't
not
even
that.
know. Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I don't know what I want you to say,
Yes.
but it's not that. So
Yes.
what I usually end up realizing when I'm in relationships sometimes is that I realize that maybe I'm not compatible with this person because there's a significant part of my life that it just can't happen to
Understand.
relate to.
Yeah.
I've met maybe one or two people who actually could relate to every part of my life, which is madness. I never thought was possible. But obviously, for various reasons, we didn't work out. So I think when I'm dating someone, it's not like we don't have a good relationship. We do. It's just that sometimes I wish we could connect more. Like I wish you could.
Yeah,
So for example, yeah, I just wish. Oh my god, I wish this person would get it the way Israel would get it.
yeah.
We get it.
So,
Like,
so
or I wish
I
this
was
person
gonna
would.
say, I was gonna say
Yes.
something
So that's
about
what
that.
usually comes up
Yeah,
in a
yeah. I was gonna
relationship.
say something about that, and I also try to like relate it to myself in some sense that, in some sense, I'm also thinking that one of the problems that I've also had is that I've not found someone that understands huge part of me, right? I mean, there's some people that we know in school that if things were going to align, I could actually date them for long. Do you understand? Like,
Because they just understood already.
because which is in some sense why sometimes I'm like, it's not my problem is probably not going to be therapy. It's just probably finding that person that is going to understand me and that will understand them. Do you get? But so I just think that it's it might sound like prideful to like say this, but I think the kind of person that we are like, there's a way we view life that majority of people don't view life that way,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just hard to find someone that is going to understand how you view life and is going to view life in a similar way, right? So it's like talking about it. I'm thinking about, oh, these things. I'm thinking about this, and I'm like, oh, Israel is doing too much. I'm like,
Is it
okay.
though?
That is going to build some like resentment because I'm like, okay, am I doing too much, right?
Mm.
So I
And it's
just
also
think
like
that, yeah.
if maybe I tell you that you're doing too much, it's probably worth considering. Because you know that my standard for things are not low.
Do
So
you
if,
get?
if this person tells you, it's also like, am I doing too much or you're not doing enough?
Or you're not doing too much. And I
Or
was also going to say something that, what if the another thing is that, at least for my own, which might also apply to you, is that it takes time for people to understand other people. It
it
takes
does take
time
time
for them
generally.
to
That's the
to
No,
problem.
yeah,
understand them, right?
yeah.
Like, we've known each other for years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we are still understanding each other. Like, we've gone through things together, we've grown together, we've done all those things together, right?
I've known myself all my life and I'm still understanding
Yeah,
myself.
exactly. And you're still like knowing yourself. I thought I saw a
Very
debit
good.
alert of 300,000. What, that was that reaction? Anyways, I was like, what happened? But yeah, I think it's which is why I think that it could also just be that, number one is that we don't give allowance for people to know us. Like, we don't go through that phase. We
Mm.
like, relationship is,
We're not
it takes
patient
work,
enough.
right? It takes work to understand another person. Like, and the older we grow, the harder it becomes, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's like, if when you meet someone when they are 10 years old, right, you build experiences together, right? Which is probably why, in some sense, Michael understands me more than Samuel, right? Because we
Mm-hmm.
are talking about Uncle Mike. Because we can talk about experiences, more
Yeah.
experiences, like, and you've known my low times, you've known my high times,
High
which
times.
has also like built that strength, right? Because it's not only the good things that builds strength in a relationship, it's the bad things and going through the bad things together, like learning to go through the bad things together, right? So I think for me, it could also just be that we don't give allowance for people to get to know us, right? Or we
Like we're
don't
not patient
endure
enough.
that process, right? We don't endure that process where we get people to like, obviously fights are going to happen, which is also one other thing that I have, is that sometimes I like to avoid conflict, right? I mean,
Yeah, you do. You
when
do
conflict happens,
actually.
I face it head on. Like, I can, like, I'm going to face it, but I like not to have that conflict,
I
right?
think the problem is also this old where you are playing life like it's a chess game. So if you say that there's a conflict about to happen on Thursday, you're already avoiding it from Monday.
Do you get? I'm already planning it
Yeah,
to
it's also
to
why you
yeah.
can. So when I meet someone sometimes, and maybe when we start dating, maybe months one or months two into it, I can already see that. Like I, like I'm not even giving a chance to say maybe they could. But I've already finished. I've
Yeah,
seen the game. I've played the game in my head. I've seen that there's no checkmate at the end, and I'm
yeah,
just like, um, this person is not going to get me. And
yeah,
it's
Mhm.
also like maybe that's also the problem, right? That you don't. And the people that you mentioned, Israel, that you. I mean, I would assume that I know people that you're referring to about people
yeah.
that you met in school that could you could potentially have dated if you guys were maybe sexually attracted to each other. And people
Yeah.
that, I mean, school, you spend 4 years together, or maybe 2 years
Exactly.
together,
Yeah. Yeah.
seeing every day.
Yeah. And it's also like this
Yeah.
particular, which is, we are probably thinking about the same person. This particular person, when I had like that bad behavior of like just being blunt with everybody and just like
Yeah.
this person stood with me through that time, right? Until I wasn't that again. Right. Which in some sense, like sometimes we still talk about that, and it's gonna be like, oh, I remember when Israel was, nobody liked Israel, but we still be like, we're friends during
But
that time, which
that is now, the relationship will have
do
ended.
you get like which do you get which I think it's giving that allowance for, because now I'm remembering that like sometimes there are people that I just, which is sometimes my friends, yeah, like they are always like, Israel, you are not serious, one small thing like this you are running away, which is so in terms then my problem is probably not necessarily like you said, avoidance, but I'm avoidant because I'm avoiding future things.
Yeah.
Do you get? So I'm thinking, oh, this person's already exhibiting this. Time to run away. Right. And then I've played like 20 moves ahead. I'm like, okay, 2+2. This person's gonna do this. So
Yeah.
I think probably
Say,
the
right?
call out for me, which is one of the things that when you ask like what am I actively working on, which is one of the things I'm actively working on, is to give allowance for people to get to know me. Right. Number one is like to be vulnerable, right? But also to give allowance for people to see that side of me, right? And it's also like when people call out something, it shouldn't be that it shouldn't be, it shouldn't be like I shouldn't start playing chess and start playing defensive game, right? I should give allowance, like, because when we get through that, now they know me more, and then we move on. When they are doing something that is bad or that I don't agree with, instead of just calling it quit, right? I should follow through and see whether that continues, right? And just continue with that. Do you get it? So I think it's probably also the same for you, Mike. It's like giving allowance
Yeah. It is.
for that space, because like I said, we've built like systems. We were single for the longest time, right? We didn't start dating until like 400 level, like 300 level or something, like, or at least I didn't start dating until like 500 level, right? So imagine those systems that we've already built, right? And somebody's trying to come into that system, and immediately it's like, you don't fit into this system, get out of the system, right? Which is also applies to like your traveling thing. Is like, you don't fit into my traveling plan, get out of
Life
that
I've
travel.
already planned.
Do you get a life that you've already planned? And I think that's not going to help long term, because what if you think about like, what if instead of like you're thinking, because now you've not even entered a relationship, you're already thinking about traveling that you can't, that you've not even bought ticket for,
The
like
relationship
traveling
is
that's
preventing
probably
from traveling.
do you get what I'm trying to say? So what if instead of just like overthinking and shortcutting what might happen in the future, you just try to follow through, taking one step at a time and seeing where that leads to. Like, and it's also like people change. Do you get, like, you might meet someone today that does not like traveling. Samuel did not want to travel, but now he was the first one to actually leave the country. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, one of the reasons why Samuel and his former partner, like, were like, both of them said, oh, they weren't going to travel, they were going to start a ministry in Nigeria. I'm trying to see Samuel's face. It's like they're going to start all those kind of things. But Samuel now
Trying to
is in
keep
the
the same
States.
space.
Do you get what I'm trying to say? And so people change, right? People also people, we think so you think you are set in your ways until, and it's not also necessarily a bad thing to change some things for someone that you love. Right now, I know it shouldn't be coming from me.
I feel like I might change as well. But someone wanted to say something. I think someone
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah.
say
I was going to say like there are two things, and this might open up the door to another conversation. But I remember you were saying something about being patient with the next person to learn. But I think that sometimes we need to recognize that there are incentives that were put in place that helped that transition. So, for example, I believe it or not, Israel and I had the scrunchiest, weirdest, most we had like this love-hate relationship, right? And the one person that helped us through that was actually Michael, right? Like Israel will do something, I'll go to Michael's room in Faj, and I'll go meet him, and he'll be like, "So what happened?" And they'll go in, and I'll be like, you know, like you have to understand, like this is how he is, whatever. And I'm like, how will someone be this heartless and just say something
Yeah.
like that?
I think there was a time. There was a time that I remember clearly that there was a time that
He's
someone was
always
like,
remembering the bad things,
someone
like
was
we
like,
said in the last episode.
someone was like, I'm never going to. I can never be friends. Like I've tried. Like I can actually never. Like I actually never work. Like I've tried before, and it can actually never work. And I had to tell
God.
him that. So I sat him down, and I was telling him that. Let me tell you something. Like the reason why I'm actually stuck with Israel, and there's no going back. Like for me,
Yeah.
but and I can tell you that I'm the better off for it. I was trying to tell him then that okay, but if you say that you tried, and you can't do it anymore, then fine. That to be honest, there's no this thing. But if you want to stay, what you're going to realize is that this is actually a cool guy to be with and
Mm-hmm.
everything. Because he was
Mm-hmm.
like, actually, he has tried, and I knew he has tried. I'm just like, at this point, let
But
me
I
go. I don't have
tried.
any.
I
I know
stayed
he
in the
tried.
same room with this guy.
Yeah, we're
I
living
like
together in the same room.
I did put in the work. But again, like I was saying, the incentive is there. Now, going off the other conversation you said about what you said about the partner or the person that you were looking at, right? Or the person that could have been a partner. There was incentive that I don't know what is out there, but I have this guy right now, right here, right now, and I have the next 4 years, right? So there wasn't any hurry as it were on whether or not I have to get out. I'm not meeting new people outside of this space. Like
Yeah.
this is the
Yeah.
space we are in. We like it's like would you prefer to work? Would you prefer a new boss or the same boss you grew up, you worked with and transitioned in through the years? Like so there was that incentive to stay because there wasn't a promise of something better, right? Michael and I had
Yeah.
this eureka moment a couple of months back, or a couple of days back, where we were like, you know what? We're not starved of love. We can do this. We can do whatever. And
Yeah.
then we had to have like these really difficult conversations, and and that's because we know that we had the option of getting better. Like there was something better
That's
that
also
we
the
could have.
problem. That's the problem. That what someone is saying now. Usually, I don't know if you get what I mean. What someone is saying now basically is that it's
Translate.
easier for that babe. Yeah,
That's
it's easier
another.
for that babe to have like been able to walk you through that madness because as terrible as your social relationship life was, you're still part
Mm-hmm.
of as good as it gets. They get
Yeah.
it in terms of other things. They get, and
Mm-hmm.
it's also like okay, what was the option to leave and go and doing what exactly?
Yeah.
But in 2024 in Vancouver, if you meet someone they can keep up with your bullshit for probably 2 months and they
Yeah.
are out too. And it's also probably what you keep up with their bullshit for 2 months. Because you remember this babe that you were seeing that I really like, and I still liked it. And I'm just like, you just couldn't keep up with the bullshit for
Yeah.
long. Because I believe that you could potentially have grown together. Like
Yeah.
it's possible. I don't know, maybe there are other factors, but there's something about that not being person thinking, you know what? While I'm spending time doing Bob the Builder with Israel, there are men there are
Yeah.
men out there that would
Men, men,
show me love
Yeah.
and everything, and I would be
yeah.
communicative, and I would be this, and I would be that. So it's like there's no willingness to try is even dead. So it's also and
Yeah.
there's also like I don't have time to be trying. Like I'm like
Yeah,
I want to get married
I
in
think,
2 years.
I think that's also another problem, which is
Yeah,
not even only a me problem. I think is the world
Yeah.
problem
so
that
it's
we
a
have now,
global thing. It's a
which
generational
like the
problem, I would say.
dating, like Instagram dating apps has caused is that we think we have more options than we think we do. So it's very hard for you to then focus on one person. I'm like,
Mhm.
even though this person is doing bullshit, right? It's like people have bad behaviors. And I think that's what we always forget, that you have bad behaviors. The person you're dating also had bad behaviors, right? And how the world keeps spinning is everybody bearing with each other's bad behaviors, right? As long as it's not abuse, like we have
Mhm.
subtle things that people just do that it just gives you like,
Mhm.
okay, what's this person doing,
Yeah.
right? I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I
but it's
think
probably
they,
things that the people can grow out of, right?
Yeah.
yeah,
But yeah, I do agree with you. Like that person that you're talking about, like she was a very good one, and yeah, she's probably it was, yeah, there were other more thing. I think it was more about the sexual attraction, to be honest, than the behavior. Like the behavior, I would take that. Like I would take that person when it comes to behavior wise every day.
anytime, any day.
She's actually the kind of person that I'm also looking for. right? But it's just
Yeah.
like the sexual attraction. Like if the sexual
Was not
attraction is there,
was not
like and then like legit that, and I think that's one of the things that also gives me hope, because it seems that maybe I'm making better choices, or I don't know how to put it,
with
like,
time.
but with time, right? Which is in some sense, some days I'm worried, but some days I'm not worried, because I'm like, actually, I'm doing better. Do you get?
Yeah.
Which is also
Yeah.
one thing that I was going to say about like the old relationship. And I know in the sect that we grew up, which probably should end it very soon because this is like 40 minutes plus, like the 20 minutes each that we have. It's like you don't use people to like testosterone or something, like you, which was one of the things that affected us, right? I wish I had started dating early, right? Because I think it's probably a similar thing with life. You build
I've been saying this
experience,
thing.
right?
I've
You
been
build
saying it.
as much as a lot of people won't agree, you build experience. Like we build work experience, we build friendship experiences. Do you know the people that we've tried to be friends with that didn't necessarily work out? Do you
Didn't
know
get it.
how much of the bad behaviors we've had with ourselves that we've had to endure over the years, right? But how many relationships have I even been in? Do you get what I'm trying to say? Right. So I think it's
Totally
that.
agree with you.
So I think it's the fact that we've just not built that experience of being
Yeah.
with someone, right? And
Yeah.
learning how the dynamics. Obviously, we shouldn't be dating like, oh, I just want to be dating and dating and dating and
For
dating and
tutorial.
dating. Do you get for tutorial? But it's also like the more you do something, and
The
what
better you
people
get
don't know
at
is
it.
that relationships, like if you date different people, it brings different things out of you, right? I was reading this thing about like I was listening to this thing about like C.S. Lewis. They were like three friends. C.S. Lewis, the one that wrote
J.R. Tolkien.
J.R.R. Tolkien, and then there was a third friend, right? And then when one of them died, the other was like, oh, now he's gonna get more of the other one. But he now later discovered that no, he was actually missing some parts, because there are some parts that in J.R.R. Tolkien that C.S. Lewis brings out. There are some parts that, let's just talk about us and forget C.S. Lewis for now. There's some part of me that Michael brings out that Samuel can never bring out. There's some part of me that Samuel brings out that Michael can never bring out. And if the same thing is if you're dating someone, there are some things that they will bring out of you that nobody else is probably going to bring out, that you will get to
Yeah.
know more about yourself, right?
Yeah.
The more you date people, the more like you're probably not in my business. There are some things you don't know about me, right? Imagine compared to someone that is living with me, seeing everything that we are doing, like, and seeing all my, but they're probably going to see more of my bad behaviors. There are probably something that they are going to bring out of. And when you don't have that experience, which is one of the things why I enjoy relationship, like the previous ones, like it lets me know more about myself, what I'm
Yeah.
actually capable of. Like like even the girl was like, yeah, I was actually like very mushy, which is very hard for you guys to believe. She was basically telling all our friends that, oh, this is a very great. I like to think of myself as a great guy anyway. But yeah, I was actually
No,
like
you
very
are.
mushy.
See,
Yeah.
one thing I always says, and I've
Yeah.
always believed that is that we are actually one of the good bunch. And it's not
No,
about
for sure.
trying to blow our trumpets or anything. But I think that
Big
there are some
bunch.
sacrifices, there are some things that we do, and an acknowledgement of our shortcomings is one of them. Like we recognize
Yeah.
the fact that we are not perfect, but we also would not go out there and deliberately try to hurt people. Like we are,
Yeah.
like, do you understand? Like
I
it's
mean,
not
I think
Yeah.
that's also one of the
for
problems
us.
that I have, is that sometimes I find it hard to date someone because I don't want to hurt them in case it
Yeah,
doesn't work out.
yeah,
Because I'm like, this is somebody's daughter. I'm like, I really
yeah.
want, like,
Someone
I
is being
legit
inspired.
want this to work out. Like, I
Yeah,
don't want to
Yeah.
hurt you, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
I think probably one solution is just to do it, right? Instead of talking theory and like, oh, is to just go out and date someone.
Someone is so
You see,
scared
that's
of relationship.
so
Someone is so
you're
scared.
scared. You're scared of it
So
being going to
scared.
be bondage. What if you enter that bondage,
Mm.
right? And you see, but
See,
yeah,
Someone
there is
is
there,
so
there are a
scared.
lot of, there are a lot of things
there,
about
there are a
this,
lot of
and
things to dig into.
yeah,
Anyways,
and there's something you said, and I'm going to defer off this a bit. Something you said about like Instagram dating and stuff like that. I think that we're now in a world that everyone wants finished products,
yeah,
without everyone acknowledging the fact that they are not even finished products.
mm-hmm.
Like and you would see it in the dating decisions of certain people, like women wanting
6'5",
sugar daddies.
forever.
Like
Or
you
men
All the man
wanting
in
like
want
finance.
someone that would pay
Mom
for
went in, yeah.
yeah.
like they can't imagine the idea. Like they can't imagine the idea of a guy not working six figures because and the
Yeah, not
illusion is
making 6 figure.
it's not the real. It's not the reality. Like there's you are not even making six figures. Even if you
Yeah.
were making six figures, you built up to the six figures. It wasn't a I was
Mhm.
born with six figures, right? So we want
Guys,
that
I'm
feeling.
not making 6 figures. How many people in this UK they make 6 figures?
I mean,
God,
yeah,
I
that's what I
beg,
was
bro.
gonna say is that UK it's also very hard to like make six
No,
figures anyways. Yeah.
Israel and I used to share this TikTok banter where we are sending like the ick guy and everything. Like we're sending it back and forth. You see the way like this conversation happened, and
Yeah.
you're like, huh, interesting. And then there's also the part of where we don't recognize the imperfections of our humanity, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone just accept everything is now about red flags and icks.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is about red flags and icks. Oh, he gives me the ick. Oh, this is a red flag guy. Oh, he does this. Like, for example, someone sees me and says he raises his voice, right? That's a red flag. But I'm talking to you guys now and I've already raised my voice like 5 times.
Yeah, you
You
Yeah.
do
know,
raise your voice.
like,
And the interesting thing about it is that you are also, I think I remember I used to tell you when we were
I think
living
it's
together
just
that,
passionate.
okay, someone you're raising your voice, just calm down. And it's
yeah,
okay
yeah.
to also,
And I'm
like,
like,
it's
I'm
also part of
calm.
the thing also about in the relationship, you can tell the person that you're raising your voice. It's okay to
Mhm.
Yeah.
calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I, for one, don't like people that raise their voice. I can't even really be in a relationship with someone that raise their voice. But if I am, I'll ask just because I don't raise my voice. So the problem is that if you're talking, I'm going to keep quiet. But I can admit that, oh, baby, you're raising your voice and you can calm down. Like, I don't think, like, the things that we call deal breakers, I don't think they are such. They
Yeah.
might, I don't know,
Yeah,
Yeah.
like,
yeah.
it's like
But
there's an unwillingness to accept people in, I don't know, it's just,
In their low state, I think that's also one other thing. Like I
come
think
and fix yourself before you come
yeah, I
and
think
date.
people are always like fixated about people's low
yeah,
low
there's so
states.
much
Yeah,
focus on
sorry.
perfection in a world where
Yeah,
there's
Yeah.
none.
Yeah.
Like we want this perfection of everything has to sit right. Or it has to know
Mm-hmm.
what to say to me at this time. It has to know what I want. Or
yeah,
she has to know what I need. And everyone is bringing this vibe of it has either this or nothing. And
Or the highway. It's like it's
do you
either
get
my
like
way or the highway. Yeah.
and I know that I'm throwing shit at myself in a way for this, but it's also like you're looking for this perfection. You're looking for I like there's a balance between wanting someone that can change or that
Mm-hmm.
can be teachable and also wanting someone that is their own
yeah,
person,
Yeah.
yeah,
and so it's like the world is there's just this imbalance of idea on how we should approach it. Like I like for one, like people the most ridiculous icks. Like icks is one of my most interesting words I've ever heard in my life because what
yeah,
that ick is based on each person's interpretation. And
Mm-hmm.
then
yeah,
red flags become like red flag used to be straight up what it is. This is what it is. You do this. This is red flag. Now it's like the moment it doesn't sit right with them or they don't feel that
yeah,
vibe anymore, that's a red flag. Or she's a red
yeah,
flag. Or he's a red flag. And it makes me, I don't know. Go
yeah.
on.
To wrap it up, right? There's something also about the fact that uh, people define someone as a red flag based on a few red flags that they have. Like,
Mm,
and it's interesting because it's possible to have a red flag and you yourself you're not a red flag. So, for example,
yes.
when I used to date someone who talks, I don't talk a lot. I don't like enjoy talking that much or just. But I used
Yeah.
to date someone
Just
who I used to date someone who talks, and I also don't talk in the morning. That's another thing. Like when I wake up, I need to defrost. I need like some 2 hours to myself. Now, I used to date someone that is the exact opposite, and it's just actually got so interesting because I just I just realized that they don't even require me to remember most of these things. So it's just like it's like having my own daily Insta blog or something. Like I'm just listening to just I thought it was going to be very difficult for me. But after we could get to the point where you're like, oh, you don't have to remember everything I'm telling you. I just need to get it out. And I'm like, okay, good. If I don't have to remember, don't worry, get it out. I'm going to participate in the moment if I can. I can say, oh my god, I can imagine how that's that. And then after that, I may not remember again. If you don't want me to retain information, fine. But I feel like if we never even dated, we will never even get to that compromise.
we will
Where I
not
realize
learn to
that
learn that. Yeah.
this red flag is not even that red of a flag. So
Yeah.
there's that. And yeah, so I think we should probably end it, guys. I mean, we would love to know your thoughts on this whole relationship thing. Is it your way or the highway? The way Israel said, and something very random that I remember is that Israel, when I was listening to a song in 2021, it was actually Highway by
That's
KYS,
how much.
and it's an Igbo song, and I didn't even know the meaning until I asked. So I had to ask people that what's the meaning, and they told me that the song is about prostitution. I'm like,
Wait, what?
like highway when you're on the highway in Lagos,
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
we like
Yeah,
yeah.
Exactly. That song is about prostitution. It's like if you see you there, we're going to pick you. I had absolutely no idea. And that's why I was listening to the song. So you guys,
This is
yeah, don't
why
listen to the
I
song.
don't ask for the meaning of songs. This is why I don't ask for
You
the meaning
get
of songs. This is it.
yeah. But anyway, to end it, guys, it would be good to know. You were saying Israel was saying, I mean, everyone has their bad behaviors that you just have to sit with and everything. So let's end with a fun point. What is you mentioned? I mentioned one person's bad behavior that you're managing right now. So Israel is the first person on my screen. So you will go first, mentioning one of Samuel's bad behavior, one of my bad behavior, and then we'll take turns. Uh,
Um,
I mean, your bad behavior
um,
is that you are always not serious with time when we set time. It's
is
always a
that me?
bad
Is that
behavior.
me?
Yes, yeah, obviously it's you. Who is not always setting a yeah,
Apologies. Yeah, Samuel,
yeah.
how
It's
about you?
always
Yeah, what's
not
Samuel's
coming
bad
early.
behavior?
Samuel's bad behavior. Wait, what? Samuel has a bad behavior now.
yeah, that's
Definitely.
why
Yeah.
I can't remember for night to come.
Okay. How about you, Samuel? What's Israel's bad behavior and what's my bad behavior?
Israel does not call.
Yeah.
He does
Sorry.
not
Yeah,
call.
I don't like
Um,
calling.
Really?
I'm trying.
Interesting.
I
I don't
actually
even
don't
know.
like
Okay, because
calling.
I don't like us to know
You
their
also
name.
don't
That's
like
why.
calling. That's the problem. Yeah.
funny enough,
Yeah.
you
Uh,
call. You call way more
I'll
than Israel,
call
and you
you.
don't
I'll
like
call
call.
you when I see that you need it. That's the problem. Because when you say when we're talking, I'm just like, okay, do you want us to call? Because I just know that you would prefer that at that moment,
Yeah.
and it makes me feel good for you to actually enjoy what you want. Do you get it? But of my own volition, I wouldn't wake up and be like, oh, let me call someone today. I never call anybody. But
Oh,
if I
I
see that
see.
we're
I see.
talking and Samuel would prefer this to be a call,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think with Israel is like Israel is not someone that would like intentionally bring himself out there to be vulnerable, right? You have to like push him or be in that space for him to be vulnerable. It's easy for you to be vulnerable, Michael. Like we are talking, whatever you can,
Mm-hmm.
but
yeah.
like Israel, not really. And then so it's like having these calls are a way to bring him out of whatever echo chamber is in of himself,
And the
and then
call is now missing again.
yeah, and then he's now meeting, or he does like I used to call him out of the blues because I knew he would not. And then there was a conversation we had where he was like he didn't like calls and everything. He wasn't talking about me, but I was like, yeah, I have to respect that this guy doesn't like this, and so I
Actually, you
stopped.
should disrespect it. So to be honest, you should just be calling. The thing is that if he doesn't like it, he most likely not pick if it's not a good time.
Yeah.
That's
He
how me
actually
I
picks
see
my
it.
call most times. Actually,
I
all of
think
the
Exactly.
times I call
that's
him.
the so I think there are people that if they call me, if I
The rules
can
are
pick
different
it,
for
I will.
friends.
The rules are different for friends, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's just
there's
it.
almost no time that's except I'm in like a work meeting or like I'm on the
Yeah,
train and I can't
Yeah,
really hear you. I'm probably
yeah,
gonna pick you guys' call to be honest,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
but I won't wake up and be like, Samuel, it's today to call you. Like
Do you get
I
it?
don't, I like,
I would
it's
never do that too.
I
I
want to
would
wake
never
up. I'm
do
like,
that.
oh, I want to. Nah. But if
Yeah,
someone like if Samuel calls me, I'm gonna like pick up and stuff like that.
yeah,
But yeah,
yeah.
nada.
The rules are different for friends, Samuel. So you can
Yeah.
always exploit that. But
fair
yeah,
enough. I
next for
still
how
want to
about
be.
my own?
For you, Michael, let me see.
I mean,
Apart
it's
from
good
my
that
lack of punctuality.
everybody has said something about. Anyways,
Yeah,
finish
we have.
your
I
thing.
think that Michael is like it's not a bad habit per se, but you quickly want to dig into things. Like you don't want to dig into things, or you want to give solutions like real time,
Yeah,
and then you start becoming this like therapist. So you're like, so what do you think the solution is? I'm like,
it's like if you get the
like,
fuck out of my
shut up,
face.
like shut up, and just listen.
Oh my
And
god.
it's like, so do you think this is a problem? Do you think we should be
Oh.
trying to fix this? And you'll be using like pronouns like that. Do you think we should be trying to fix it? Do you think we should work like
It's
bro,
because
you're not
I'm with you in the problem. I want you to know that I'm here
You're
with
not
you.
with me.
it's not a bad thing, but it's also like sometimes maybe just chill and don't
It
try
can be
to call yourself.
excessive.
Just listen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think one thing I would say about my own issue that you brought up is that sometimes it falls back to the hyper independent thing that I'm like.
Yeah.
I would have thought about fixing my problem before bringing it, which is also probably one of the things that affects like when you're in a relationship or something, because it's like, yeah, I've already fixed this thing,
The
or
person
I'm
probably
already,
wonders, does this person even need me?
does this person even need you? So I think one of those things like that I'm also just learning is like trying to share that, right? Even if I don't think you can fix it, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
What is someone's bad behavior that I know? Let me see. I think it's probably not a bad behavior. It's that I think sometimes Samuel, this I'm probably going therapist mode now, but like sometimes Samuel self sabotages. Like you know that this
Mm,
thing is bad. Like
yeah.
like you know that this thing is bad. We've talked about this before. We've said that we don't do this, don't do this. But you're just like, you know what? Damn it!
I
I'm
want to
just like,
try
oh God,
it.
you get, and then you try it, and it obviously becomes a mess, and we have to talk
Mhm.
about it. And I'm just like, but we warned you. But it's like, you know what? This is the life that we put ourselves in. So yeah,
This is the life I chose in
you
Chamber.
get it.
What's that song?
You do
I
that
actually
so much.
I think that like I'm going to quickly say something before you go on. Like this
Yeah,
is largely a childhood thing where I have to either learn by experience by putting myself into those positions, or I have to defend my decision. So in my head, I have defended my decision. I feel like it's good. I already know where it's going to mess up, right? But I think the consolation is that I know that even if I mess up, I will still come back to you guys, and you guys will still be there.
yeah.
Like
Just
still,
like
still there. So it's like
shame
I'm
on
going
you.
to make my
Yeah,
mistakes and then come back to you guys and be like, guys, I made a mistake. And then you guys will be
yeah.
like, you try everything you can, not to say I told you so, because that's the
Yeah.
good
I
part. No
mean,
one ever
legit.
says I told you
I'm
so.
doing that every day.
I think do you get? I think
Feel like I
Israel's
fucking
bad
told you so.
behavior that I have is probably related to what we've talked about before. I've already
Mhm.
mentioned too. I think the first one is that I feel like he gives up too easily on people, and that now makes me wonder. Sometimes I know that you probably not give up on me, but it
Yeah.
makes me wonder: is that something that maybe this guy is not saying that he has given up on me on? Do you get
Yes,
it?
yes,
Because
yes,
when we
yes,
talk sometimes, and I'm like, you're not going to raise this thing again with this person, and I'm like,
yeah.
is it? Could it be? Could it be? Do you get it? So it doesn't. Sometimes I feel like that chips into the security that I have in our friendship, because I want to be sure that that would never happen with me.
Mhm.
So that's the
Mm.
one. And I also think the other thing which probably ties to it is that sometimes I feel like you are not as, like, it's like what Samuel said about the fact that you're not as expressive sometimes. So I think we're chatting about something recently, and then you sent me screenshots. I can't remember what we were chatting about. We were chatting about something that I think you're okay. We're talking about your promotion at work or something.
Yeah, yeah.
Or and that had happened. When did that happen? Was it was not your
Like a
promotion?
day
Your the good
before.
feedback that you
Yeah,
got,
but
was it
like
like
a
a day
day or
before?
2 days before. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like I want that information in real time.
Every
yeah.
time, yeah,
That's the thing. Like
yeah,
I feel
yeah,
like if I didn't text you that day, there's a possibility that we won't talk about that. And it's not even like you're
Hmm.
intentionally hiding it. It's not like you're like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell Michael this thing. It's just like you don't think it's worthy enough to bring up as a conversation. But I'm
I
like,
mean,
I want this
that I would
tiny.
disagree with, like especially that last case, because it's also like when I got some pay, like with that old content creation thingy.
yeah, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I
yeah.
understand the expressive thing. I just guess that
Yeah,
did not come up. I
that
guess
one
because
just did not come up.
I'm always sending screenshot of like every new thing that
Yeah,
happens
because I feel
with
like
thing.
I sometimes I feel like I can visualize what Samuel is doing right now, or what
Yeah.
Mm.
I feel
Yeah,
like
I think
I can better summarize Samuel's maybe present state than yours, and I want to be able
yes,
to
Mm.
yes, yeah, yeah. I
summarize
think
it as well.
that's the thing with
Yeah,
Israel. Like when you think about like Israel's perspective to sharing these things, like for example, when Israel is working out towards something, he brings us in on it. So every time he was applying for jobs before he
Mm.
got into his company right now, all
you're
the
talking about Michael, right?
Israel, like
Yeah.
what
Okay.
you said about Israel. So
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
the interviews, um all the interviews he did,
Mm-hmm,
Google,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
whatever, we were knowing about it as it was happening because those were
Mm.
Yeah.
things that he knew were big deals, that we all knew were big deal for him, and it was keeping us posted. But like the small day-to-day activities,
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
even
I
things,
guess another problem with that is that there are some things that I'm just not as excited about. I'm
Yeah,
like,
but you don't
yeah,
have to be exact. Sometimes we just jump on a video call and
yeah,
Israel is in
I
the
feel.
pool. And I'm like, who are these people that you're in the pool with? We don't even know them. We don't know where you met them. We don't know when you I'm like,
Yeah, I feel you. I
a lot
feel
has
you.
happened.
yeah,
Like,
Yeah,
who are
yeah,
yeah.
these people?
yeah,
You
and
I
get, so
feel
it's
you.
it's
like
I
like,
feel you.
yeah.
I
And
want
then
that
there's
gist
people
as well.
like you, like you take ordinary walk by the beach, and
And
we are
I'm
The
getting
whole world
pictures,
already knows.
they
yeah,
get it. Yeah,
It's like you get like we would have seen these pictures
in
before it
real
gets to the
time,
story.
bro.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
Like it's
but
happening, we
yeah,
already see it. Like there's also like Daniel, for example, something happened. He's
yeah.
already telling us like things like that. Like
we're knowing as it is
we are
happening.
knowing as it's happening, but Israel is like, oh yeah, it will just be like, oh, and by the way, when I was my boss was telling me this, oh now I'm
Yeah, what do you
editing,
mean by
I'm
the
just
way?
editing product, and I'm
Oh,
like,
so I was telling someone
So
that,
let me tell you. Sorry, before
dude,
you let me tell you an
yeah,
example. When I realized just that, it took me this podcast to realize that Israel has a podcast mic. I don't know if I've never seen it on the video, but I thought you had a road mic. No, you had a road mic.
it's a road mic now. That's what I mean by
No, but you
podcast
have the
mic.
smaller one for your. You have another one, right?
Yeah, yeah. I have the
One I
lapel
remember
mic.
you buying. That's the one I remember you
Oh,
buying. I
I've
don't
even
remember
had
you
this
buying
one.
this
what
one.
I
Wait
mean,
now. No, what
this
do you
what I
mean?
mean about.
You've not been
I
watching my
don't know
YouTube video.
why.
That's why
No,
you've not been
like
watching
that's
my
what I'm
YouTube
saying. Like
video.
I watch your YouTube videos, but it's just like I didn't clock when it's happened. So I'm always like,
Oh,
Oh yeah, yeah.
when did this enter the house? Do you get it? It's like,
Mm.
for example, now all
oh,
these
I think it's been too long that that's why you probably don't remember.
It's
I
been
think
a
it's
while.
actually
eh,
been too long. It's
maybe
been
maybe
too
because
long.
I'm like I know that the road
I
mic
got
was
it
there. But
before
I'm
I
like
even got my camera. I think I got
Yes.
it before I even got my camera. So
oh, that's
it's been
long.
that
Maybe my
long. So
memory
it's
can't
been
be
that
trusted.
long, actually. It's
But
been
yeah,
that long. Yeah, yeah. But I was even gonna say that what was I gonna say
you're
before?
going to respond to Summers this thing about maybe when I'm going to the beach, I'm always dropping this thing, all of those things. I'm trying to juggle
I've
your memory.
forgotten. I've
Yeah.
forgotten.
Well,
You
this
see?
has been fun.
Yeah. It's a long one anyways. So
I'll probably have to do a lot of cuts and everything. But yeah,
yeah.
thank you guys for watching. This is cool. I'm going to get dinner now. This is 6 p.m. What are you guys doing? Sam, what are you doing after now?
I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to get lunch, and I think I'm going to my parents for Thanksgiving.
All right, cool. We'll
You people
talk
are
about
doing
it
that.
maybe
You didn't ask me now. They
during.
didn't ask me. Oh.
Oh, there was,
You see, they didn't ask me. Oh.
no, no,
And now
I'm
I'm
not yet
angry.
done. I'm not yet
Okay,
done.
better. We are
I
ask
wanted
me.
to say that cool that we're going to talk about fitness in one of
Okay.
our coming episodes.
Okay.
Oh, guys, remember to you.
Okay. Yes. So yeah, so I'm currently going. I'm going to go to a conference now, Google Dev Fest,
Oh, nice.
with some of like one of my friends,
Really?
and then I was supposed to like shoot a video earlier today, like a gym video with somebody, but that isn't gonna happen again because I
Mm.
think the time isn't working. One thing I should also just heads up is that I'm going to I'm tomorrow after church. I want to go try out some aesthetic cafes. Like I'm just make a video of that. So I'm just gonna go around, try some of their meals, also like take a video of that. But apart from that, today I think, according to my calendar, that's all that I have. Other things can come up, but that's all that I have today. I'm probably just gonna rest anyways.
All right, cool. You guys
What
should
about
have
you?
fun.
Oh, you already said you're going to
I'm
go
going to
get
get
dinner.
dinner. My
Yeah.
day has ended. It's 6
So that's
p.m.
true.
here,
Your
so
day,
I'm going to get
mine has
dinner.
just
I'm going
started.
to edit my YouTube video. We'll talk about that in another episode.
And you edit this
And
video too.
yeah, we're going to talk about that after the podcast.
You
And then that will
edit
be
this
it.
video.
And then that will be it. But yeah, guys,
Yeah.
it's been fun talking to you guys about relationships and all these things. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Share with a friend, like, subscribe, follow, do all of those things. Share with somebody that will love it. Like, why don't you want to share? Just don't be a bad person. Share with a friend and just be nice. And
Come on.
yeah, catch you in the next one. Bye bye.